boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Netflix new action thriller Carry On, which stars Taron Egerton and Jason Bateman. This is a film that follows a young TSA officer who's blackmailed into letting a dangerous package aboard an upcoming flight on Christmas Eve. This is a film that I've been highly anticipating for a lot of reasons. I like Taron Egerton, who is most notably known for the Kingsman films. He was also in a Robin Hood movie that wasn't all that good, but he was what he was. He played Elton John in Rocket Man, and he is everybody's pick to replace Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And I always wondered if that would work, but I like him. I don't know if he's Wolverine, but that's besides the point. And the second reason this film was highly anticipated by me, which I would consider near and dear, is because it was filmed in my hometown. It was filmed at the airport where I grew up around. I grew up about 2 miles from this airport and work around it as well. So I knew when they were filming this movie. I saw when they were filming this movie, and I was like, man, what is this film? Because the New Orleans International Airport, or whatever it's called now, it's I think it's Louis Armstrong International, but it's a new airport now. They built a newer wing to it, and the existing airport that was there is pretty much dormant. It's just there. And so when they were filming in this abandoned part of the airport, I was like, well, what type of movie they filming in there? And it was Carry On. And so I was excited to see how the movie turned out, so to speak. Even though this film is set in Los Angeles, that's why I love movies. The magic of filmmaking, to make it look like LAX, but it's actually in New Orleans. But it is what it is. It still worked for me. This was a good movie. I was surprised on how much I enjoyed this film. I thought it was going to be just a popcorn action, generic action film, which at its core, that's what it is. It is basically Die Hard meets what can I compare it to? Those typical, is Die Hard on a bus, Speed, Die Hard on a train, Die Hard on a boat, under siege and stuff like that. There's always a comparison. This is Die Hard in an airport, I guess. There's no other film I can kind of compare it to, but it's a Die Hard scenario. This ordinary guy put in an extraordinary situation, and to have a plot that was kind of simple but yet complicated, and complicated enough to whereas you can kind of believe this would happen. It isn't far-fetched. Now, will it go to these depths that this film presents it? This attack that was planned, or this assassination that was planned, I don't know. I don't think anybody is this elaborate with pulling off something like this, or attempting to pull off something like this. But it's movies. But you can really sit back and like, that probably could happen. Somebody probably can pull these shenanigans off. This film is directed by Jaume Colette Serra, who is a prominent filmmaker. He's made some really good action movies in the past, most notably the Liam Neeson little action genre that he was in. It seemed like every action movie outside of Taken, Jaume Colette Serra, I think I'm saying his name right. I pray that I am. He directed. You can go back to Nonstop, The Commuter, The Unknown. He also directed Jungle Cruise for Disney with Dwayne Johnson, and he most recently his last film was Black Adam. Now, the less said about that, the better. But hey, he tried. But he, as far as the action, how he films it, I really enjoyed it. My favorite film of his is The Shallows with Blake Lively, that shark movie where she's stuck in, uh, I think, a buoy, and this shark is hunting her. Very good movie. Love that movie. And he also directed Orphan as well. Uh, that just crazy out there film that was considered a horror, I guess you could say, but it is good. But he did an excellent job in this film to really uh build the tension. There was a lot of tension in here. You know, you putting yourself in Egerton's shoes throughout the film and keeping you on edge, and keeping him on edge. He never gets the upper hand. You know, he's always behind the ball, even though they did a good job of displaying him as being a smart guy. He's very smart, very observant, but he's just one step too slow to our villain. And it is this chess match that they're playing is just beautiful to watch. Speaking of our villain, Jason Bateman, I mean, when is Hollywood, and I guess you could say audiences alike, going to give this man the love and respect that he deserves? I know Jason Bateman is at his core a comedic actor. We all know him from being in the sitcom growing up, you know, Teen Wolf 2, in movies like that, Horrible Bosses, and all that type of stuff. But when he went to Ozark, when he did Ozark, he really flipped the switch, you know, to show that he has a darker side to him. And this film, him being the villain, is so good. And he's not a villain with, you know, physical strength or physical presence, you know, because it's Jason Bateman. I mean, let's be real. But his voice, bro, Jason Bateman just has that tone that is so cerebral and, you know, thought out. He just comes off as the smartest man in the room. And the way he just plays games with Taron Egerton's character throughout this film is a beautiful thing to watch. I really enjoyed him. He is the main reason to watch this movie. Even though Taron Egerton does a really good job as the hero, I liked his character. Really, I loved his character. To be honest with you, he is somebody you can get behind, cheer behind, because he is a ordinary guy. There's nothing special about him. You know, he's not a superhero. He's not a cop that, you know, is living on the edge and, you know, you know, expert marksman and can pick up a gun and handle his business against these thugs and all this other. That's not this character. He is just a guy and caught in this super, super serious situation. And on top of the situation that he's in, he has a pregnant girlfriend, and his best friend who works at the airport with him gets tied up in it, and he has the pressure of working for this, I guess you could say, domestic terrorist here in Jason Bateman, and has the weight of all of these people at this airport on his shoulders. Every decision he makes is the lives, you know, it determines whether these people live or die, and it's killing him, you know, literally and figuratively. And it is like, my God. And he does an excellent job of playing that role. I really did enjoy this movie. Now, I did have my problems. It's not a perfect film. I mean, like I said, it's a generic action film at its base. It does have some wonky performances throughout. Some of the plot, or should I say, problems that arise throughout the film are conveniently solved with a phone call, or with some character coming in, making a call like, oh, it's this guy. They find out way too quick, too easily, who these people are once the ball starts rolling. And it's like, I find that a little hard to believe because this villainous group does such a good job of concealing themselves. It's no way you know who they are, you know. It's no way you can find this out this quickly. But in the course of, I would say, a couple of hours, that things start to unravel. The plot is starting to come to the police officers and all of the authority figures involved in here, and it's like, boy, y'all really found that out really quickly. And the end result of this film was the most unbelievable, and I was so upset by that. I was so upset. It was a satisfying end, with the final quote unquote showdown between our hero and the villain. But how they got to that point, how they arrived to the setting that they were on was like, they didn't have to do that. It was like you could have solved this problem at the airport, and it was no reason for it to leave the airport. It was kind of weird, but I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't seen it. But it's kind of like, oh, come on, man. That's really unbelievable to me. In the way that the police and the authorities just let it go on. They they allowed the fate of the people on that plane, a congressman, and everybody else involved in the hands of an ordinary citizen, of an ordinary person, and it could have been avoided. That's the thing that was like, I'm not buying that at all. I'm not buying that at all. Even though I liked how it ended, I liked the ending. I just didn't like how it got to the ending. But overall, I enjoyed this movie. This was a fun movie. It's truly a good Netflix film, and I would say borderline theatrical film. I could have easily seen this in the theater. It's that good. It's that good of a quality film. The talent involved in front of and behind the camera, it's really, really good. But as far as the next Netflix film, it exceeds my expectations. Carry On, which is currently on Netflix, gets a letter grade of a B minus. Yeah, it's really good, and I guess it's a Christmas film. It can become a Christmas classic right next to It's a Wonderful Life if you want to watch it. But I enjoyed it. I hope that you do enjoy it. If you watch it, I highly recommend it. If you have watched it, I would love to know your opinions of Carry On. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for this show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube, and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of the new Netflix action thriller, Carry On. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.